Internal factions in South Africa's governing party, the African National Congress, ANC, have become more evident as more members are being implicated in cases of state capture, fraud and perjury. Just over the weekend, the ANC nominated and elected a murder-accused member as its Treasurer General for one of its branches.
All of this against dwindling support for the party as its biggest and most influential ward in the entire country loses its prestigious status in KwaZulu-Natal. This appears to be the trend for a notable number of the party's branches. Joining us now to unpack all that is happening in that country is South African politician and is a political analyst, actually, Ongama Mtika. Many thanks for joining us, Ongama. Let's go back to when the cracks of the party actually started. Let's not forget that this party is already 110 years in making. Let's take a few steps down memory lane. How they started, how they revealed themselves to the rest of the country. What has been the most prominent and ever-present reason for the current division within the governing party?
Good morning to you and your viewers. Thank you for having me. So the African National Congress is actually the oldest liberation movement in Africa, having started in 1912 to fight against colonialism and apartheid. And it was banned in the 1960s and started operating in the rest of the continent, with its headquarters outside of South Africa, being in Lusaka, in Zambia and in London. Tanzania, it had bases as well as among the frontline states where it had some bases in order to fight against apartheid. Its famous leader was Nelson Mandela, incarcerated after the Rivonia trial in the early 1960s, 1961, 1962. And it became the leading party in democratic South Africa, becoming a dominant party in successive elections since then. And in the Jacob Zuma period, in the late 2000s, it started losing support due to internal factions linked to leadership succession within the party. So big fight between former President Thabo Mbeki and the supporters of Jacob Zuma, which saw a splinter party being formed. And the first time that the party lost its two-thirds majority was in 2009 due to the formation of the splinter party. Since then, it has also faced the economic freedom fighters led by Julius Malema as another sort of splinter party, and it has faced internal factions that cost it initially the big metros in South Africa, city of Johannesburg, city of Tshwane, as well as Nelson Mandela Bay in the Eastern Cape. So it's been involved in these debilitating internal wars that have cost it the dominant party status in the country. And in fact, in the last elections in 2021 local government elections, its national average was pushed below 50%, which suggests that at a national level come 2024, we may begin to see South Africa bucking the trend in the continent and becoming a multi-party democracy, in terms of which it's impossible for any one party to secure electoral victory. And you see coalition government that we are projecting in the country. So in a nutshell, that's the summary of the ANC, its rise to prominence during the liberation struggle, its dominance in the democratic period, and how it has had, internal divisions that have caused it to lose support in successive elections since 2009.
All right. Not so long ago, the president announced the step-aside rule for ANC members who are alleged, reported, accused and or even charged with corruption. Now, why have we not seen this being effectively implemented in the party?
Sure. So as an attempt to try and deal with the decline of the values of the party, it has, since the Mangaung conference in 2012, attempted to come up with institutions, internal institutions, that can help it reclaim its integrity. So in 2012, they introduced the idea of an integrity commission along with the disciplinary committee that could ensure that it, looks at members of the party that have brought it into disrepute according to Rule 25 of its constitution. And what became apparent in the first year of the Integrity Commission was that it didn't have enough teeth to bite. And as such, at the last conference in Nasrec in 2017, this rule was introduced for members of the party who've brought it into disrepute, to step aside. However, in the process of interpreting that rule and coming up with a framework for its implementation, the National Executive Committee of the ANC said people who are charged in the courts of law, which in my view was a dropping off the bar, because the bar emphasizes issues of ethics and morality. So when it limited it to people who are facing criminal charges, it brought a legalistic aspect to the argument. So to its framework of integrity building. So what you have currently are lots of people who have brought the party into disrepute but have not been formally charged, and as such, those people remain within the higher echelons of leadership of the party. And those few that have been charged have actually been compelled to step aside. So the Secretary General, for example, of the party has been, in a political wilderness since he was formally charged by state institutions for his involvement in a corruption scandal when he was premier before he moved into his current role. So, but it's battling because there's a lot of gray areas, and that's not necessarily uncommon with processes of building political institutions, because these things are contested. And factional divides have resulted in some people being, acted against, while others who are aligned to certain factions and are crucial in succession battles leading to the conference later this year, are not treated with the necessary urgency as far as their cases are concerned when they have brought the party into disrepute. So as a result of that, it's become difficult to manage the stepping aside in a very direct and clear-cut way.
Right, Agama. I mean, it is a serious situation in South Africa, looking at the ANC. Now, with the number of scandals and accusations that many members are facing, what insight can you give into the future of the party, especially ahead of the 2024 election that will be coming up?
So the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, campaigned on a ticket of renewal as far as the party was concerned, and the new dawn as far as the country was concerned. In terms of these institutions which had been systematically eroded during the Zuma years would be rebuilt. And we've seen some changes from a leadership perspective in a number of these institutions, foremost among them the National Prosecuting Authority, which is responsible for, among other things, investigating and prosecuting crimes by the political and business elites. They have, however, they have failed to live up to the expectations of the political climate in which they came. And as a result of that, many South Africans have lost confidence in the president as well as his agenda of renewal, and in fact, the ANC. And the indicator for that is the party moving from two-thirds majority in 2004 down to the 60s in 2014, and now sitting in the mid-40s. Our estimate, a number of us as political scientists looking at the ANC, is that South Africa is not going to have a dominant party system anymore. We are more going to see multi-partyism, and the coalitions that we have seen in major cities in the country might just be at a national level in terms of where you may find certain provinces, especially, for example, Gauteng, where the city of Joburg, which is the biggest city economy in the continent, is. And that the ANC has lost power there. in 2016 and in 2021. So the idea, the emerging thinking is that the party is going to battle to secure the 50% threshold that would allow it to govern on its own come 2024.
Well, let's just see how this will all unfold and unpack in the coming months. Well, we have about 2 full years prior to that time, but thank you so much, Ngama and Timke, for coming on the program.